So good morning everyone and welcome to the Drain Away Save Away webinar from United Utilities. My name is Michelle Burns and I'm a Key Customer Manager at United Utilities. I manage the relationships with our business customers in the commercial sector and I've been with the business now for just under 1 year. In previous roles, including 11 years at HomeServe, I've gained over 15 years experience in managing commercial clients and partnerships. So that's a little bit about me, so you know who's talking to you today. And now we'll move on to the webinar. It'll take approximately 30 minutes where we're going to be talking about surface water and highway drainage. The objective is that you will have a better understanding of how your charges are calculated and where reductions may be made to save your business some money. So moving on to the agenda, it outlines the order of what we're going to cover today, and we're going to clarify exactly what surface water and highway drainage actually is, why it's important and the calculations involved in applying charges to a site. During the second half of the webinar, we'll go over what we've learned and look at opportunities where you might be able to reduce your charges and benefit from potential savings. So let's get into the detail of the subject. When it rains, rainfall will either soak or wash away into rivers, ponds or drains, or it'll land on surfaces where it can't naturally wash away. One of our responsibilities here at United Utilities is to dispose of this surface water. We want you to know exactly what your charges entail, so there's no confusion when it comes to billing. And our charges therefore don't only reflect the cost to supply your business with water, but also to take it away. There are various environmental and geographical factors that can affect how much you charge for your water and wastewater services. Our costs have to take all of this into account, and this helps us cover maintenance and investment on the network which serves you. If you would like to know a bit more about these issues, you'll be able to find more information on our website. So let's start with how we charge here at United Utilities. Firstly, it'll depend on whether your premises has a water meter. Most businesses in the Northwest will. If you have a water meter, you'll pay for the amount of water you use and for the amount of wastewater that's taken away and treated. If you don't have a meter, we'll usually work out the charges based on your premises' rateable value. As you can see on this slide, our services can be split up into two main categories, which are water and wastewater. Wastewater charges can then be split further, and these could be made up of 3 separate charges, but your wastewater charge will depend on your businesses and premises, as we said earlier. Foul sewage, this is wastewater that's removed from your premises. Trade effluent, this is wastewater service that applies to mainly industrial and manufacturing companies. And surface water highway drainage is the rainfall that's removed from your premises and the region's roads. On screen now, you should be able to see an example of a typical United Utilities bill for a business customer. And this lists the charges per category, and again this will depend on the services that you receive from United Utilities. For the remainder of this webinar, we're going to discuss the surface water and highway drainage charges in the wastewater category. But again, if you'd like to know more about water charges in general, there's plenty of information on our website, or if you prefer, you can ask questions to your key account manager. So what is meant by surface water and highway drainage? They are 2 separate charges. This diagram shows what we mean by a public sewer. So highlighted in red are foul or combined public sewers, which collect foul sewage and surface water from premises, and they transport to the treatment works to be cleaned up and released to a local water course. Highlighted in blue are other public sewers that rainwater can fall into that discharge into local water courses. So United Utilities are responsible for ensuring that strict requirements are met before this is released. Surface water is charged related to rainfall, which falls onto your premises and then flows directly or indirectly into the public drainage system. The amount you're charged for will be based on the size of your premises' chargeable area, which drains to the public drainage system. So this can include roofs, car parks and other hard standing areas. But it's only the areas that drain into our sewers that you'll be charged for. Some premises will have areas that drain naturally into a brook or stream or wash away without even entering the public drainage system. We refer to this method of charging as site area charging. As referenced earlier, highways drainage is a separate and different charge to surface water. This is a charge for taking water away from highways, roads and pathways. And this charge is cost reflective and based on your site's chargeable area. The difference to surface water charge is that you charge for all hard-standing and man-made areas, whether or not they'll drain into the public drainage system. Both these charges though are applicable to all customers that have a connection to the public sewer. So we're going to ask a question to check here if what I've said has made much sense, and the question can be related to your site or one of your sites if you have a multiple site. So ask the question, does all surface water falling on that site return to the public sewer? So what we're looking for here is yes, no or don't know answers. If you've answered yes, this means that you will pay full surface water and highway drainage for your site based on chargeable area. If you've said no, then you may have an opportunity to reduce the chargeable area for your surface water assessment. For those of you that said you don't know, this will mean that you are paying or may be paying the full charge. This webinar will hopefully help you move from a don't know to yes or no, which will ensure you're paying the correct charges for your site. For anyone that has answered no or don't know, please review your sites and feed back to us and we'll be happy to help you where we can with this. Now we'll look at how United Utilities actually calculates and applies the charges to a site. And to help demonstrate this, we'll look at a typical small to medium-sized site. So on screen you'll be able to see a picture of an ordnance survey map of a site similar to what we use to calculate your site area. Highlighted in red is the site's boundary, and within this there are a number of features. The areas shaded in dark green are buildings and are hard-standing areas such as private roads, parking areas and loading bays. And these are all examples of non-permeable areas. And as we expect water from these areas to drain into the public drainage system, they will contribute to the site's chargeable area. The areas shaded in bright green are areas that don't drain into the public drainage system, like parks, playing fields and farmland, and they will all be excluded from the chargeable area assessment for any site. So if we go through how we would actually calculate the charges for this site, we'd find the following. The red boundary shows an area of 6,500 square metre. This is a surface area for the site, but this doesn't represent the actual chargeable area. With this example, the green areas are not chargeable. They equate to 1,500 square metres, which leaves a total chargeable area of 4,000 square metres and places the customer in a charging band 6. So let's have a look at what we mean by the charging bands. A site's charges are based on which band their chargeable area figure falls into. And at United Utilities, as you'll see, there are over 15 charging bands. Here you can see that all of those bands and how they will split into two separate charges for surface water and highway drainage charges to combine the overall band charge. The wastewater part of your bill up to the 31st of March 2014 was split evenly between surface water and highways drainage charge 50-50. However, from the 1st of April 2015, this ratio changed and the surface water part now accounts for 60% of your wastewater bill, with 40% being for your highways drainage. So this change will now work in your favour as you can reduce and save money on this part of your bill. And we can talk about this in more detail as we go through the information. In this example, which falls into the charging band 6, this would receive a bill for £7,183.72 per year. £4,483.09 goes towards surface water disposal and £2,763 goes towards highway drainage. Whatever charging band has been applied to a site, this will initially result in the same band being used for both its surface water and its highway drainage charge. However, when it comes to surface water, there are areas that are either permeable or don't drain to the United Utilities public drainage system, so the site then may have a partial connection allowance applied to its account. So in some circumstances, this means that a site may drop to a lower charging band, but this would be for the surface water charges only. So sticking with our site example, we can see areas that don't drain to the public drainage system. So this can also affect a site's charges. In some cases, there are chargeable surface types that might not drain into the public drainage system, but we'd only be able to find out about these areas if you tell us. United Utilities won't hold this information without the relevant customer updates, so it's important you get this feedback to us. On screen I've highlighted 3 sections where the customer has informed us that certain areas of their sites don't drain to the public drainage system. Area 1 is actually a gravelled area. So as there's natural drainage here, this is the surface which is non-chargeable for the surface water. Area 2 is an area which the customer, after walking around the site, has noticed that it doesn't drain into the system. So therefore all rainwater is soaking away naturally into the ground. So this can also be removed from the chargeable area. Area 3 is a surface water that drains to the local brook. So in other words, all water falling onto the roof of this building does not drain to the public sewer. This means that the site could potentially be granted a partial connection allowance, but this is only applicable to the surface water element of your charges and won't apply to the highways drainage charges. To qualify for a partial connection allowance on your bill, you would need to demonstrate that it drains naturally, and we can go into this in more detail when we go through the actual application form itself. To reiterate, partial connectivity allowances only apply to surface water elements of site charges. And this is because the charge itself relates to the surface being provided to the site. The highways drainage charge is different, and it uses the chargeable assessment to allocate that customer a proportional charge for the overall cost for providing highway drainage in the region as a whole. So looking closer at our banding charges table, you can see that there may be significant savings for you if you actively apply with the required evidence to support your application. I'll cover how to do this and what's needed shortly. Let's look at some examples of what we mean by features that can be removed as part of the partial connection allowance application. So on the slide now you'll see a few images, and these images show both permeable and non-permeable surface types. So it's important to understand how these may impact your charges. So for example, gravelled areas aren't included in your surface water or highway drainage charges, and this can include permanently grassed and cultivated areas. Gravelled areas aren't included either for surface water charges, but are included for highway drainage charges. Some pathways have no drainage systems as shown here, and water often washes away naturally from these areas, which may exclude them from the surface water charges. Finally, car parks and other large surface areas such as astroturfs or plasticized playgrounds may have no drainage, as you may see large puddles form in the corners after heavy rainfall. They may also be exempt from surface water charges, as they may wash away water naturally. If you do have any examples of these on your site, make sure you're flagging them to our attention via the partial connection allowance application. The next slide shows private areas that we classify as being connected to the public sewer, as there is private drainage. So indicators for this could include gullies or drains, and we assume that these private drains are connected to our sewer. This means the onus is on you, the customer, to inform us if they don't connect and then provide evidence to support this. Next we'll look at features that discharge to water courses. If you do have any of these features on or near your premises, it may be that part of your site does not drain or has the potential not to drain rainwater to the public sewer. So some clues to consider might be natural drainage points and outfalls, or a local water course, or ponds. And all of these areas can be taken into consideration and could further reduce your site area charging. So let's have another question to check if we are still making sense. Think about one site or your main site and ask the question, have all of the non-permeable areas on your site which don't drain to the public sewer been accounted for in your chargeable area assessment? As with the last question, we're looking for a yes, no or don't know answer. So if you ever think about that. If you've answered yes, this means all public areas have been accounted for, and it's likely that you are paying the correct charges for your site. If you've said no or you don't know, then we'd recommend that you look at the opportunities open to you at your sites, particularly if you are on the cusp of a band that could bring the band down to a lower charge. And you can contact, as said, your customer manager here, your key customer manager here, and they will help assist you any way they can on this. So let's recap. Surface water highway drainage charges are for premises connected to the public sewer. Highways drainage charges are there to recoup the cost of draining the public highways drainage. And surface water charges are there to recover the cost of draining rainwater from your site. You can apply for a discount to your highways drainage only by reducing the chargeable area of your site, and you may be exempt for surface water charges if part of your chargeable area drains naturally. We can look at some practical steps that you can take to reduce your charges, and this can help you undertake your own assessment. So the first thing you need to do is to get hold of your site map, and you can do this by using a link to get to your map if you've not already got a copy of it. You'll need your account number or map reference and the postcode of the site to log in. If you do have any trouble logging in, just email our site area team and we can assist you with this. Then once you've got your map, check it. Have we got the boundary correct? Are all the features within it correct? Have we accounted for all the grassed areas? Find out where the surface water flows and draw an accurate drawing showing roads, car parks, footpaths, neighbouring premises and permanently grassed areas. Once you've got all this information and you complete the application form, and we can go through the application process itself. The application form is pretty straightforward and you can access it via the link that you can see on this slide. If you have a number of sites in your portfolio, you could prioritise these sites via the most potential to have a benefit of savings. So for example, sites with lots of permeable or non-permeable areas which drain to a watercourse, or sites that may be on the cusp of a lower banding with the potential for further assessment allowances to be made. Get your application form into us as soon as you can, and we can backdate the charges to the beginning of this financial year. Make sure you've got the right form. It has 5 sections, and the key one being section 3. And this is where we ask you to provide evidence that no surface water drains to public sewers. This will help us process the application as quickly as possible. And for larger sites, any official drawings or schematics such as architect or civil engineering certified drawings would be great items of evidence to support your claim. Fill in your claim form and you can send to the address on the form, and together with everything you've collated to help support your claim. Once we've got your information, we can verify your claim, and if it's successful, we'll backdate the charges to the start of the financial year. If you do have any other questions, contact your key account manager, and again, like I've said, we'll be happy to assist you anywhere we can on this. So to summarise what we've said so far, ask yourself these simple questions. Are there any public sewers nearby? If not, you are connected and shouldn't be paying for a surface water charge. Does the site have a septic tank? Are features correct? Have you made sure you have accounted for all non-chargeable areas on your site? Has there been any changes to your site? If any of your sites have been demolished or sold, you might be paying the wrong charges. Does more than 10% of non-permeable areas not drain to the public sewer? Is there a watercourse nearby or a pond on the site that could potentially divert surface water to? You just might need to think about the permissions that need to be sought to do so on that. To summarise this section, here are some further pointers on how you can get started. So know your assessment. As said, get your site map, look at how we've assessed it, is it right? For surface water reduction, you could look at alternatives as install a soakaway or man-made hole to collect and disperse water naturally. And this would cost in the region of around about £650, and this would be to put in a small 1 cubic metre soakaway, change non-permeable areas such as car parks to permeable ones, and to increase natural drainage, check where natural drainage occurs around your site, and have you considered all your options? You should only be charged for surface water which drains directly or indirectly to public sewers. Exclude areas that drain naturally, such as fields, and then submit your application form with the supporting evidence that you've collated. Other areas to consider to help reduce your water bill could be avoid any unnecessary hardscaping, low impact development, any rainwater harvesting, minimum width driveways and walkways, holding ponds and detention basins, stormwater management, erosion and sediment controls, and any preventative maintenance that you can think of. So that brings us to the end of the webinar. So thanks very much for listening. If you do want to get in touch with us, there's lots of information on our website, and you can see our link on this slide. And you can also check out the Canal and River Trust for further information relating to permissions, etc. I hope you found this webinar useful. Thank you for listening.